Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and I'm being joined by Alex B. Roque. And we are here for the inaugural episode, the very first episode of Major Previews, a new video series that we created as part of Comic Book Click, where we get to go ahead and look into the abyss that is the future of comics, and preview some of the latest and greatest series, trade paperbacks, and overall first edition issues that you guys should be excited for in the near future. Now, before we go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of this, B. Roke, this was actually a brainchild of yours. This was something that you were extremely excited about. And even when you joined Comic Book Click, it was very important for you to kind of introduce me to this world of previews and solicitations. Talk a little bit about your background in kind of picking. I mean, this is literally some of this stuff is a book by its cover, right? So tell me,
Yes,
tell
it
me your
is.
background.
Yes, it is.
Tell me your background in this world of solicitations and previews, and a little bit about why you were excited to bring this conversation monthly to Comic Book Click.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a world where it's all about hype, it's all about buildup, it's all about spoilers and trailers. Why don't we have that for comic books? Marvel does do some of it online now. They develop these little trailers for certain comics, but this has been going on for years. That Diamond Distributor releases their previews book, and then just recently, individual publishers are also coming out with their own little previews books to highlight the books, and they release it 2 months prior to the anticipated release dates of all these books. So here
Right,
we have this window of into the near future, and to build this anticipation that a lot of people outside of most comic book readers, I believe, are aware of this, but even they kind of ignore it.
right.
And the average person has no idea what's going on with this. So if you're just a casual reader who shows up on a Wednesday or just one day a week or even just one day a month, and you go, oh, what's this? What's this? What's this? This is a great way to look at it and go, oh, wait, in 2 months, I remember this writer, I remember this artist, or this character of mine is going to be featured in X, Y, and Z. There's so much material to build this anticipation. Why not do it for our show?
Yeah.
It's a great way to get us hyped. It's a great way to get our fans hyped. That way you guys can let us know which of these things you also want us to eventually cover.
And I also feel like it's important, and it can sometimes even be difficult to keep your ear to the ground with all the happenings that happen in comics, especially when a lot of our output, the media that we do put out, is mostly about like the tentpole films and the television series. On the occasion that we can cover a comic when we can, it's always a blast. But I find myself oftentimes not being able to stay on course as to what is happening. And I feel like this series is actually going to help me do so, help me be able to follow these publishers and stories as they're being announced and keep, like you said, the excitement up. We are in a bit of a lull when it comes to film excitement for the comic book media genre. A lot of people have said things as far as like fatigue and whether or not things are coming out almost in a conveyor belt style where they're not necessarily being given the treatment. But every one of these films that we've gone out of our way to watch and review as part of, let's say, major issues or comic book click, outright, was based on a book. And these are books made by very passionate people across publishers. So yeah, this is an amazing concept that I'm so happy to bring to you guys as part of the click. So let's go ahead and get started. The rules are that we've decided is we have both picked 5 different entries, things that will be coming out next month in January, and these are things that can come from any publisher, can be trade paperbacks, individual issues. Now I let you know what my picks were so that you didn't have similar picks, but all your picks are pretty surprising to me today. So I'm very interested in seeing what you've chosen. And if you don't mind, I'd actually like you to go first.
Well, I was hoping we can go one for one. I think that's a
Yeah,
fair way. Let's
100%.
let's
Yeah,
let's play
yeah,
let's play
totally.
let's play some table tennis.
I dig it. I
You
dig
know,
it.
all
Which
right.
is just regular tennis if you got were too big for the uh Too big for the field.
Well, come on. We grew up in Brooklyn apartments, man. We didn't go to the tennis courts. Okay. We played
No,
ping
no,
pong
this was
in
the
in
this
in
was the
in
tennis
the
court.
stairwell.
This was the
There you
tennis
go.
racket right here.
Waka, waka.
That was it.
Yeah, I would
Awesome stuff.
definitely, I'll happily start it off, I guess, because I guess I'm the guest on the show here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
start off with a 90s, for lack of a better term, banger, because everybody here should remember Gargoyles, right?
Yeah.
Gargoyles was
Yeah.
was one of the greatest 90s cartoons, probably cartoons ever. And the last few months, probably like a year now, Greg Weisman, the creator of the Gargoyles, has started to come out with the comic books following the end of season two from the Gargoyles. So none of those stone breakers from the Goliath Chronicles and stuff, and a taste of some of the comics he had released from Marvel after season two as well. He's
Right.
included those things, and now is continuing the story. He's so far had the Gargoyle series and another series called Gargoyles Dark Ages, which goes into the history of the Gargoyles. And now we have Gargoyles Quest #1, done by Greg Weisman, of course, and Pasquale Qualano, whose work I'm not familiar with at all. But based on the preview, it's all about Demona. Now she's starting to acquire new mystical objects. For those of you who remember the original series or even don't, she back in the past she was able to help the Archmagus acquire the Eye of Odin and the Grimoire Machnorum, as well as the Phoenix Gate, so he can become this all-powerful creature and almost wipe out the gargoyles and take over Avalon. I'm really nerding out here, but I'm super
No, you're
excited.
Gucci. No, I love this. And also I feel like Gargoyles feels like a series that in my mind went longer than it actually did. You know, like in my mind, I remember it being like for years because it was so rich in its lore and so rich in its writing. And what we're seeing now is that stuff being able to spill out more freely into these series that you're talking about. Were you able to read the actual Gargoyles, the straight up Gargoyles #1, like, or the series that's been ongoing since
Yeah,
then?
yeah. I'm pretty sure I posted about it on our Facebook page. One particular page where the humans literally capture Goliath and they put him on trial to not even determine if he's guilty or innocent for all the damage that they're trying to say. They're putting him on trial to determine if he's worthy of being treated as a thinking creature,
Oh, like a
which
sentient being. That's
yes,
interesting.
yes, and they get into. I don't want to spoil it. A couple of the pages I believe we posted on the comic book click. If you want to go
Right,
into
right.
there
Yeah.
and into our Facebook, and it's just it gets into human rights and it gets into prejudice as well as just ignorances and biases and just love and hate. It's so good. So you still have all those aspects of the story as well as if you just want fantasy, the Gargoyle's Quest is going to mostly tackle that fantasy aspect of Demona,
Awesome.
Goliath's ex, angel of the night, now on her quest again to do God knows what, because she was always up to something. So what is she acquiring and why is she acquiring it? I'm looking forward to it.
Super interesting.
Gargoyle's
Super
Quest number
interesting
one by
stuff.
Dynamite. By Dynamite, guys. If you're not familiar with them, great publisher.
Yeah, Dynamite has been going boom. Their business has been booming, all pun intended. Um,
Mhm.
and they've also picked up a whole slew of IP recently, right? Is it
Oh
them that
yeah,
have all the Disney stuff now?
yes they do. They got a fantastic Darkwing Duck book that they've been publishing. It's been killing it, as well as a series for individual villains. There's a
Yeah,
Hades book, there's a Scar book, there's a Maleficent book, and I believe they've even done a few other one shots. But yeah, Dynamite's really delving into these DC things, and it's even if you just want the art is alone is gorgeous. And I hear Hades and Maleficent are killing it as well.
awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. I going a little safe with my first pick. I'm going with Batman issue 141.
Who?
It seemed you never heard of this guy? He's a man. He was bitten by a radioactive bat, and
I've heard of
no,
Man Bat, but
it's set to be released literally the second day of next year. Written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez. Um, it's supposed to be the end of Chip Zdarsky's run, or at least the conclusion for the Mind Bomb story that's been going on, that's been following Zur and R.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
incredibly weird Grant Morrison concept that Chip was able to bring back. I've only really seen images and panels from this run, and when things intrigue me to this point, I kind of want to wait till this conclusion, and that's what this issue signifies for me. So when I saw that this issue was coming out in the solicitations, it just tells me it's my turn to jump in with this stuff. Now, I'm a Chip Zdarsky fan. I don't necessarily know his Batman. Um, I'm also a bit weary because I used to think absolutely everyone could write Batman, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think people are feeling that with Spider-Man at the current moment. So it's like, uh, I trust Chip in what I've read of him. I almost everything I've read from his style, I really do like it. Whether or not it gels with the world's greatest detective, I don't know. But I'm super stoked that this issue is coming out because it lets me know that it's time for me to jump in. And I want to see how the hell you deal with a concept like Zur and R. And I have to keep looking at it because it's hard to remember even how to pronounce it. But I'm super stoked for
It's
it. Big Batman fan. And yeah, I'm ready.
it's a wild concept. I got Batmaned out during the Tom King run. I love the
Yeah,
Snyder run. Then Tom King came in and it kind of he took it in a direction I wasn't feeling. But Batman is a character that, given put in the right hands, can be amazing. And the combination of Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez has intrigued me. And now that I didn't even realize this was going to be the final issue. Now that it's complete, I'd love to read it in a collection because
yeah,
Jorge Jimenez is amazing. His Batman, I've heard about this mind bomb thing where it just, I mean, imagine the guy who you rely on the most to have the most stable mind is now going
right,
crazy. That's and who has his capabilities. You know,
right.
this isn't just this is Batman, right? The guy who has every contingency plan known to man now going crazy, and what's he going to do with this ability? So I hope, let me know how you, if you read it first, and let us
Yeah.
know so we can cover it because it's definitely a great story.
Yeah, super excited. I've also seen a bunch of panels, and it looks like they have found a way, in a weird way, to integrate almost every version of Batman at some point, but
Really.
in the
Okay.
Zer and R style. So there's like almost a the old
So wait,
animated.
is there a Batman who laughs last
Oh, I haven't
Zernar?
seen that one yet. I haven't
That
seen
would
that
be
one yet.
crazy.
I did see
That
Dark
would
Knight
be crazy.
Returns. I want to say there's a Adam West version. I
Okay.
even think there's a Bat Might Zur and Ra,
Zernar.
but
Okay. Or Zernar
but
Ra.
um but yeah, listen. I'm so
I
sorry
got
if
you.
anyone's from that planet and I'm
Grant
messing this up.
Morrison, don't hate us. Chip Zdarsky, we're trying our best here. Okay.
Hey, you said they set me up, bro. They set me up.
Right. They definitely did. I'm gonna hit you with my next pick. I'm gonna go with now. This is again. I'm a 80s baby. Cobra Commander #1 by Image Comics, brought to you
Interesting.
by Josh Williamson and Andrea Milana.
Oh wow.
Just recently, Robert Kirkman, with under his skybound umbrella of Image, has acquired the rights to Transformers and GI Joe. And instead of just bringing us the typical story that he could have done, he said, I'm going to make a book called Void Rivals, which is about these two races having this ancient intergalactic war that's been going on for centuries, and just drop this in the middle of what he's calling the Energon universe. And during the every issue of Void Rivals so far, I think we're only up to issue 6, there has been a feature of a Transformer or somebody affiliated with the Transformers universe. We've had Jetfire, we've had the Quintessons, we've had I can't even remember his name, a bounty hunter that was in one of the episodes show up to tell us, look, he's putting us in this universe and setting up this bigger than life story that's also now going to wrap in Transformers, brought to you by Daniel Warren Johnson, and
Oh
now
wow.
bringing in the GI Joe stuff, brought to you by Joshua Williamson. On paper, it sounded like it shouldn't work. But I'm telling you, the last 6 months between the first 6 issues of Void Rivals, the first three, and now 3 issues of Transformers, and we're about to get the introduction to how the GI Joe universe is now merging into this.
Right?
I cannot wait. And we've already had spoilers. We've already had Duke show up in a Transformers issue. Now
Right.
we're gonna get Cobra Commander to show up and do God knows what. because it's Cobra Commander, right? It's Cobra Commander.
Right,
He's gonna
right,
do
right.
something. It's gonna be he's gonna build a pyramid that's gonna have a face, and it's gonna shoot a laser into Jupiter, and Jupiter is gonna shoot, comets and do something, and he's gonna take over the planet. It's gonna be that. But because so far it's in this world that has these new rules, I don't even. I've already given enough spoilers. Guys, pick up this book. Pick up this book. Pick up Cobra Command #1. If you haven't picked up Void Rivals #1, pick it up. Pick up Transformers #1. If you're a wrestling fan and you like Transformers, you're gonna
I
absolutely love
think
it.
I just saw a panel of Optimus Prime doing some sort of wrestling move. Uh, Literally, I want to say maybe yesterday, I saw
It
this
was
panel.
he takes somebody to Suplex City, and it's
Right,
crazy.
right.
Yeah, it's
Only in
awesome.
comics, bro. Only in
Exactly,
comics.
exactly, and that's just one move. Like I could have
Right.
swore Earl Hebner was going to come out and start counting.
What's also interesting is that you have to believe, while not all of it, that some of this stuff is going to be used as the groundwork for the inevitable cinematic meeting between Transformers and G.I. Joe, as teased, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler alert, in Rise of the Beasts in
Yeah.
Transformers. Uh,
Hmm.
to my knowledge, that road has not been paved. These books are the trailblazers to tell that story, and you got to believe that the best parts and the parts that people are attached to the most might make its way into now this shared cinematic universe that they're trying to create over there. So you can get in on the groundwork here. And the idea of focusing a book on Cobra Commander, like not the hero of the
Hmm.
story, is going to give you an intriguing look into what all that's about. And then I've got to think, if GI Joe and the Autobots are might be teaming up, then what's going to happen on the other side with Cobra and the Decepticons? Because who knows, and how is all that going to tie in? I'm very interested in finding out.
Yeah, and also how this Void Rivals world is gonna tie into it, because that's a great book. Don't just read it to see the Transformers. How do you say,
Crossover connection, so
connections
to
and
speak.
stuff? Yeah, I was guest appearances, so to speak. Don't just read it for that. The
Cameo,
story, the
cameo.
the cameos, the cameos. Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't just read it for that. Read it. I mean, the story of itself, and to see how that is going to tie in to Transformers and GI Joe. I can only imagine that this is all leading to some massive crossover. I can't wait. Robert Kirkman. People have talked smack about him for a couple of years. He was a one hit wonder. To me, he's written a lot of other great things since Walking Dead, and so far, the building of this universe. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
And for those non-believers, I don't know of a singular comic book writer making more money right now probably than Robert Kirkman. Between Invincible, the 18 Walking Dead spin-offs currently going on, they're working on Invincible, the live action. There's a lot going on. That man's making a lot of money. So the idea that
I feel like I
he
feel
can,
like he's the DJ Khaled right now of the Marvel of the comic book universe, and another one just
yeah,
hit after hit after hit
and the
after hit.
ones he's making money off of now are 10 years old. No, 15, about 20 years
Yeah.
old, I want to say.
Yep.
I think they
Yep.
both started to print in 2003. So
Yep.
yeah, let the man, collect his flowers while also planting other ones. It's a hell of a business model. He's really killing it there.
Yeah. So what you
Now,
got for us, George?
so my next pick is a bit of an interesting one. I picked Wolverine number 41. It's going to come out January 10th. It's written by Benjamin Percy and Victor LaValle. They're co-writing it, and the artist is Corey Smith. So this is the beginning of the Sabretooth War. It says the most violent Wolverine story ever told. Get ready for the showdown to end all showdowns. Wolverine versus Sabretooth. It's been years since these heavy hitters have crossed paths in the Marvel Universe, but as Krakoa falls, so rises Sabretooth, and he's out for revenge. They threw Victor Creed in the pit, but he's free, and wielding an army of Sabretooths will prove once again why he's Logan's ultimate nemesis. And the reason why I picked this issue is because, embarrassingly, Wolverine is a bit of a blind spot in my comic book knowledge. I've read him as part of teams. I've read him as part of teams. I've read Old Man Logan, obviously, right? That's a huge book there. I've read The Death of Wolverine, which was fun. But I'm looking for my jumping in point. Very similar to the Batman of it all. I'm looking to come in on this, and this is the first issue starting a brand new arc for this character who's been dealing with some kind of weird stuff with the hot claws. Like every time I would try to be interested to go in, I would see something that looked very confusing and then be like, I guess I don't get it. Maybe I'll get it later. Um, but I've always liked Victor and Logan's relationship as I've understood it, whether it's animation, whether it's live action. Um, they've always been at each other's throats. Didn't I hear a story about is it every year in Wolverine's birthday, Sabretooth would show up so they could scrap, or vice versa? You know,
Hmm.
like this whole like we're destined to do this forever kind of stuff, and the different body types, the different levels of animalism both of these characters portray. I'm excited for this, but talk to me a bit. You seemed a bit surprised about my lack of Wolverine knowledge overall. Besides your disappointment, are there anything you could suggest to both me and the reader before this issue comes out in a couple of weeks?
Well, I'm just, I'm in mourning right now. Like, how could you have not read Wolverine? I mean, I don't think you're. I mean, comic book. You can't say comic book without saying Wolverine. I mean,
Yeah, he's
the
big.
guy. Kind of. I mean, there was a good 2 decades where the man single handedly carried the comic book universe.
Yeah,
So, woof. But with regard to what's going on now in the age of Krakoa, the Wolverine book has actually been pretty fun. If you're looking to just basically get the exploits of the John Wick of the X-Men universe, you're reading Wolverine. He's slicing, he's dicing, he's doing all types of crazy stuff. And one of the craziest things that he's had to deal with recently was that Beast was able to mind control him and then eventually
right.
even make clones of him and have this army of Wolverines doing Beast's bidding. And spoiler, 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 Beast is like a villain now in the book of
Yeah,
X Force.
yeah,
So stuff has been
big
just
time.
going crazy in X Force and Wolverine. And then on the side, yeah, what was it? I believe in House of X #2. They, like you said, they threw Sabretooth into the pit and they left him there,
Yeah.
both physically and as a writing tool. He was not brought up
This was
until
the
finally.
because like the Fantastic Four stuff, right? Like he was it was something with them, or he had did
he
something and the Fantastic
he
Four
he
were trying to
killed.
arrest him.
Yes, he killed somebody, and that was one of the rules. If you read House of X and Powers of X, if you haven't, we've covered it. Look for it. But he
Yeah.
kills someone, and that's one of the rules that Xavier and the council said. Look, if you can't kill anybody because we're mutants, we already have a bad name. We can't have you running around just murdering people. And they had to make an example, and it was a big example to throw Saber to the vault people into the pit. And he's been down there. I believe he recently was able to escape in the book Sabretooth and the Exiles,
Okay.
where he gets a bunch of other people who apparently were also exiled to escape this pit. And now, I mean, like you said, you can't say Wolverine without Sabretooth. You can't say Spider-Man
Right.
without Venom. You can't say Batman without the Joker. So here's Wolverine finally dealing with his arch nemesis, and it seems like it's about to be a bloodbath. But I hope they don't bring in Hot Claws. Like, are they bringing that back? Because that was terrible.
Victor's gonna
That
have
was
hot
terrible.
teeth in this.
Yeah,
It's
right.
what's gonna happen. But yeah, man, I'm a big wrestling fan. This is the unstoppable force, the unmovable object. You know, they're getting in the ring again. You know, rocking Austin 3. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Definitely. So
Super
I'm gonna give
excited.
you my next pick now, which is gonna be, wait for it, Ultimate Spider-Man #1. No, guys, this is not 2000. This is not Brian Michael Bendis. This is Jonathan Hickman, who we just spoke about with his House of X, Powers of X stuff. Marvel has now handed the reins of the Ultimate Universe back to Jonathan Hickman. Jonathan Hickman was the tailor of the end of the original Ultimate Universe. He wrote a lot of the Ultimate stuff. He wrote a lot of weird miniseries near the end. He he was writing a bunch of Ultimate stuff near the end, and then eventually Secret Wars, which collapsed the Ultimate Universe into the Marvel 616. He has recently brought back the Maker in a book called The Ultimate Invasion, where the Maker decides, hey, I'm bored. I'm bored. I want to bring back my universe. So he brings back the Ultimate Universe, but not the way any of us remember it. He tailors it to the way he wants it to be. And now, because of his new finagling, we have a new Ultimate Spider-Man. And it's not the Peter Parker that we're used to in the original Ultimate Universe. It's not Peter Parker from 616. It's a bearded Peter Parker who's still married to Mary Jane and has a daughter.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this. This is something I think the Marvel fans need, especially those who, like previously mentioned by George, are tired of this current Spider-Man run where it seems like we're just getting bumbling Peter Parker, can't get anything right, can't hold down a relationship. Mary Jane and Black Cat are tied to him, which for you guys like you and I, we want to see Peter Parker in a solid relationship. That's what we're used to. You know, whether you're watching the 90s cartoon or reading the comics, you're used to seeing him with Mary Jane. It's dare I say, excuse me, one more day, you
Right.
know,
I mean, this is taking that back, right? Or at least letting us see what that future could have been had that storyline not come up. That basically has doomed him to never, you know, be with her, at least not in perpetuity. It also feels weird because it's almost like a flashpoint in the sense, right? Where the small
mhm.
changes that were made by the maker allow for those who are even fans of the Ultimate Universe to now be surprised because of the little changes that are going to be made here and there. I know you're a huge fan of the universe. How big are the shoes that are need to be filled for this Ultimate Spider-Man run, and how much faith are you putting in Hickman to sort of follow that? Because hey, Jonathan Hickman and Brian Michael Bendis are two completely different writers.
That they are, but I've read so much Jonathan Hickman stuff. He can write just this character just as well as Brian Michael Bendis. And no offense to you, BMB, love you. Will always love your books, your Daredevil, your Ultimate Spider-Man run, Sam and Twitch, all that good stuff. Always gonna love it. But to see Jonathan Hickman come along, considering how he took the X-Men and Marvel buried the X-Men during its when it was owned by Fox to the point
Yeah.
where I can't think of very many people that read that stuff. And this man came along and took those ashes and turned the X-Men titles into the hottest selling books for like 2 or 3 years. And even right now, a lot of that stuff which he planted is still booming. And he's not even a part of it. So for him to do this now with the Ultimate Universe, I can't imagine it going wrong. He's too solid a writer. He's got a great artist on this book. They're giving him four books, and I please Marvel don't do like you did with the X titles where we had 6 solid books, and then Marvel's got greedy and they turned it into 30 books or something, and it just
And
got out of
even
hand.
six is a lot, to be honest. Like I
It,
mean, he's
it,
managed
it
to do it because he's
was
great, but yeah, it's
right,
a
but
lot.
now he's got 4 books. There's going to be Ultimate Spider-Man. There's going to be Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, and I
The
believe
Ultimates,
The Ultimates or the
yeah,
Ultimate. It's kind of I think
universe or
it's going to be
something.
like the background of every. It's going to be everybody in the background. But this
Right.
Ultimate Spider-Man book, if to me, this is the book that, like I said, if you were that '90s Spider-Man fan and you always wanted to see what it would be like to see Peter have his wife and his daughter, because we all remember, or at least again, fans of from my time remember when Mary Jane lost the baby that Norman Osborn kidnapped, and we never,
Yeah.
we still to this day have no idea what happened.
Right.
They gave us Amazing Spider Girl, which was a great book, and we got Mayday Parker, but they never brought her into a bigger universe. I felt this is all of that we're finally going to get by a premier writer. Get this book, y'all. Get this book.
I also think it's ironic because by having a family, the thing that they didn't really want to ever give him, it ups the stakes of everything all the time. You
Right.
know, which is strange. Like Peter, for the most part, like he doesn't really have anything to lose because he doesn't really have anything.
No, he's
So
always broke. He's always single, no children. So even
yeah,
when people would find out his identity, it's like, oh, they're gonna kill Aunt May again. She's an old lady, no offense, sorry,
right,
but
right, right.
now he has a reason to keep that secret identity, even from other heroes. This is something to really, really play with.
And I also think it adds him now to the echelon of characters like Superman and Batman that have only gotten better by being a parent, right? That have
Right.
only learned more and given more gravitas because of the role that they now have, where it's always about saving the world, but now they literally have an encapsulation of their world and this small person that they're trying to protect and uh, be a role model for. So yeah, super stoked about that. And Hickman's a great writer, and writing a lot of this times does make or break some of these books. I recently got on the Immortal Thor train because I love the Immortal Hulk. I really, really like Al Ewing, and the best way I could use to describe it, the run so far, is that like I remember when I read Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and there's a lot of words on that on every page of that, but it's poetry. It's gothic, romantic, horror poetry. Moore is weird like that. Like he's really good and weird like that, like simultaneously. And Al Ewing on this book has been very Shakespearean. I know a lot of people sometimes with Thor, they it's usually one or the other. He's usually the party bro, kind of the joke is that he's a fish out of water and so much different and so much older and so much, more boisterous than everybody else around him. And then you get stories like this, which are a insight into just his world. They close the door to the normal stuff. Everything is bonkers, everything is crazy, and it's all spoken at a level of epicness, like an odyssey, if you will. And I think Al's really killing it on this book. So my next pick is Immortal Hulk #6. Um,
Or
Obviously written
Immortal
by
Thor,
Al
Immortal
Ewing.
Thor.
Immortal Thor #6. Go and read Immortal Hulk #6 too. That's pretty good.
The whole thing, the whole series,
the
all
the whole
50
series.
plus issues. Yeah.
The art's by Martin Coccolo. And the description says, a legend from the past, the All Father saw answers to his new troubles in the memories of old, and to refresh those memories, he consulted his skald to tell a tale of when young Thor and young Loki journeyed out beyond Asgard on a quest that would determine the fate of all the realms. This is a story of the immortal Thor and his first journey into mystery. And if you're off the legs of Loki and you're looking for more of this stuff, it's all right there. Loki's playing a big part in this series as of right now, and it, like I said, it feels standalone. Obviously, nothing Thor is standalone, but if you know anything about that character, if you know anything about Norse mythology, there's a very cyclical nature of all of it. They got to go to Ragnarok and then they're reborn, and they go through their trials and tribulations for 100 years, and then they go to Ragnarok and then they're reborn. So with every new rotation with this group of characters, you have an opportunity to do something new. And I do like Jason Aaron, did a tremendous job with this title. And now where it's going now with Al Ewing, I'm very excited. It may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm really digging what's going on over there. So I really, really am looking forward to issue 6, which drops on the 24th of January.
Okay, so we got some time to breathe.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that it's now in its second story, because I've heard great things about that first story, where apparently he's fighting like the original or the entity of of Thunder. Is that what's
Yes,
going on in
yes,
those first
yes.
five
Yep.
issues? And that sounded really, really cool. I haven't had a chance to read any of that stuff, but the covers, Alex Ross on those covers, boy,
Yeah.
Marvel bringing back Alex Ross a couple years ago. The covers he does are just gorgeous. He's been doing amazing work. So even if
What
you
do you
don't want
think
to
is
read
that
that,
What do you think is that pairing about Al Ewing and Ross? Is that something that Marvel dictates, or does Al Ewing get
I
to pick
well,
covers on that thing? Because he had
I'm
it for Hulk as well.
you had it
So I
for
was
Hulk. Yeah,
interested
now that you're saying it,
in
it could be a preference thing. But Alex Ross, he's been doing other covers. He's been doing Fantastic Four covers.
yeah.
He, you want to talk about a crazy cover? The latest issue of Fantastic Four had Doctor Doom writing a Doctor Doom
Oh yeah,
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
the T Rex.
I picked
Yeah,
up that issue just for that cover.
the
It's
Doomosaurus
awesome.
Rex.
The Doomosaurus Rex, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's been doing other anniversary covers for other books as well. And I'm an Alex Ross fanboy, so even the worst Alex Ross cover to me is gorgeous. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you're not even a fan of Thor, but you like some good Alex Ross covers, just pick up the book for the covers because they're gorgeous.
100%.
And my next pick is, speaking of Al Ewing, The Resurrection of Magneto #1.
Big book.
I have fallen out of the Age of Krakoa in its middle part. The middle part just got way too out of hand. It got to be too much. But there were some key books that I wish I had kept reading. X-Men Red being one of them, by Al Ewing, as well as even the regular X-Men and Immortal X-Men. those books I know are good. So I've been keeping my thumb on the pulse, so to speak, and keeping track of it. And one of the things that really hurt and was beautifully done was during the Axe crossover, the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Eternals crossover. Magneto has one of the best deaths in recent memory. And
Interesting.
what's awesome was it's during the age of Krakoa. However, they were on help me out. They were on Mars, which is are now called the New Araco, I believe, the planet they created for the other mutants from the Araco dimension. And Magneto agrees to be like the ambassador from Krakoa to that world. However, they are infinitely more hardcore than the mutants of our dimension. They
Interesting.
refuse to embrace resurrection, the resurrection protocols. If you're not familiar, it's the ability that these five mutants together can basically create a new person, a new body for any person, any mutant who has died, and then transfer their consciousness into this body, and it's like they never died. In order for them to respect Magneto on their planet, he has to reject the resurrection protocols. And this is Magneto. He's just like, you want me to show you how badass I am? And you want to respect me? You want to respect me? Huh? I got you. Him and Storm do it. Magneto, though, when the Eternals send their uh like I believe like Thanos' grandfather to annihilate Araco, Magneto is just going ham, just literally summoning the electromagnetic forces of all of Mars.
Oh
However,
wow.
they do get this one hit on him that it's literally blasts a hole in his chest.
Oh wow.
However, he's like, I ain't done. I ain't done. I got you. And he uses the last of his powers to keep his blood circulating so he can just continue to just annihilate their forces to save what he can of Araco. But then he
Wow.
dies and he has no resurrection protocols. This was now about a year or so ago. And everybody knew because it's comic books and it's the X-Men. Magneto's coming back. But how is he coming back? And what will he be like when he gets back?
Yeah.
I can't wait because this is I mean, is he going to be upset? Is he going to be like, listen, I accept the resurrection protocols. How dare
Yeah.
you disrespect what I want? However, he's still Magneto. He's going to do something, and what is he going to do about it? And in the hands of Al Ewing,
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to it.
Al's been sort of tackling characters that have the weight of the world on their shoulders for various reasons, like the Hulk stuff, having all that power, Thor having all that legacy, decades upon decades of war and trying to keep the Nine Realms together, and then everything that Magneto's been through. You got to think he's gonna nail just the weight of all the actions that have led to this moment where he's brought back. And like you said, does he want to be back? That's a very important question. When you bring people back from the dead, I don't think anyone ever asks them if if they're down to come back. But
Right.
yeah, I'm super interested in that. Speaking about dead, my next pick is John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America, to be released on
Mm.
January 16th, 2024. It's written by Cy Spurrier with artist Aaron Campbell. At last, as you demanded, the celebrated team of Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell have returned to Hellblazer. John Constantine has cheated death once again, but his heart is not beating. His body is decaying, and he, his friend Nat, and his son Noah are on the run in America, wanted for murder. Naturally, it's all John's fault. It always is. But as it turns out, Dream himself needs John's help. Something terrible has taken root in America and is using the sand from Dream's pouch to impose its will. If John can put a stop to it, he might be able to parlay that favor into a chance to save all of their lives, but he's going to need help from someone he hasn't spoken to in years, someone he wasn't always all that kind to, someone or something. Bum, bum, bum. Come on, man.
Hmm.
Come
I
on. Hellblazer, Constantine, a Swamp Thing tease, all that Alan Moore stuff, and Dream. I just came off of that Netflix, Sandman special, which made me go and read those books, which again are gothic poetry, are just mwah. And again, I wanted something a bit newish that was kind of that same vein. Whether they're able to capture it is going to be interesting, but they're willingness to try is what has me interested in this book. And I like Constantine because his stakes are usually pretty high, but no one else is paying attention to his adventures.
Right.
Like, he's a man on his own, and he knows the underbelly of the DC universe. The other characters that go in and out of the nooks and crannies and are either doing good or bad to keep this world together. It's going to be really, really interesting, and I'm waiting on a good modern take of Constantine, so I'm super stoked about
I mean, I missed that preview, and
it.
you got me sold. That sounds amazing. I wasn't even aware that John Constantine was dead right now. So the fact that they're
Yeah,
resurrecting him, but it seems like they're resurrecting him at least as a zombie to at least acknowledge, hey, this is a dead dude. I like that. That's a cool idea. And bringing in Swamp Thing coming off of the Rom V run, it sounds fantastic. This is something I'm
and
definitely
those
gonna
guys are
keep.
not like buddy cop friends.
No,
Like,
they are not.
it's a pretty interesting
No,
relationship those two
no, they
have.
are not. No, they are most certainly not. And then you also mentioned something in there. Who are some of the other
Dream,
characters? Dream. Oh, pff, what? Bringing
yeah,
in the Vertigo universe characters.
right.
This
And Dream,
is
and again to the John Constantine of it all, Dream, like this all powerful character is coming to little John Constantine and saying,
right.
"Hey, by the way, bro, can I get some help?" And oh, that's super cool.
And also this is in the midst of there's a lot of grumblings that maybe we're gonna get a Keanu Reeves Constantine too, a very
Ooh,
underrated comic book movie that came out before the comic book boom. I still look back upon fondly. I remember coming out of the theaters going, that was fantastic. But it just
yeah,
seemed like it came out at the wrong time. So
yeah,
a book like this, with the fact that they're incorporating all, I mean, Swamp Thing's had a show. Morpheus has had, I believe they're wrapping up the filming of season 2.
right,
Why not? Maybe this is coming out to heat that fire to get John Wick
100%.
himself, Keanu Reeves, to do some Constantine Part 2. Get Shia LaBeouf a job. He turned into an
Oh
angel.
no.
He turned into an angel
Oh
at the end of
no.
that book. Come
I
on,
will
you can do it. Do it.
I will say that Swamp Thing is on the radar for Gunn's DC new universe that he's making. So yeah, this could very well set the stage for that kind of stuff. And to be honest, like maybe they just do a Constantine with Homeboy in it that's not connected to the first, you know? He could totally play a variant and be a part of this now new running franchise. And
Right,
if they're
right, right,
looking
right.
for like older trusted names for to lead these projects, come on, man, Keanu Reeves,
I'm with it.
really hard to
Like
top that.
you got me sold on so much right now. Warner
I'm telling you,
Brothers.
man, future's
I want
bright.
send me some stock. Uh, yeah,
Interesting,
that's
interesting
amazing.
stuff.
And well, hey, I'm gonna surprise you. Maybe not completely. I am not a DC guy, guys. Okay.
Yeah,
In general,
that's
I
not
appreciate
surprising.
their stuff, but in general, I am not a DC guy. However, two words got me super excited about this next title, and it is a. I want to make sure. Oh yes, sir. Action Comics. Why you
Interesting.
ask? Why you ask? I'm excited for Action Comics. A Superman book.
Right.
I'm a Superman fan in general, but I don't read a lot of his books. The recent Dan Jurgen stuff was good. Joshua
Hmm.
Williamson stuff I've heard was pretty good. I kind of read a little bit to the you know kind of just took an insight into it. However, Jason Aaron
Yeah.
writing a Superman book, give me that. Just like you had mentioned before about Jason Aaron, he wrote one of the best Thor runs of all time. He's written Scalped, one of my favorite books of all time. He's done so many other books that just are amazing. Now to see him and what's his take going to be on Clark Kent, Superman, and the fact that spoilers, the villain that he's going to be featuring to go up against Superman is Bizarro.
Yeah.
I love Bizarro. Bizarro is a fantastic character. And it seems from at least from the preview that he's tackling the Bizarro that I love the most, the Bizarro from the Superman animated series, at least in some way. It seems like
Right.
from the preview here. So to see Jason Aaron, who has the ability to write heartfelt stories, take a god like Thor and make him feel like your brother while still making you recognize this is Thor who becomes the king of Asgard during his run, who
Yeah.
eventually has to go through this epic battle where it starts and ends with Gore the God Butcher done properly. Damn you. Damn you, MCU. Love and Thunder. For all you people who swear the Marvels is the worst MCU movie, go watch Love and Thunder again and then never watch it again.
Also, read the
Anyway,
books if you want to be even more disappointed. Well, watch the movie, and if you
yeah,
thought it was bad, read what it was
yeah,
based on.
yeah. But once you read those books, you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna. Even if you're not a Superman fanboy, you're gonna want to read Jason Aaron's Action Comics. It's coming out next month. I'm gonna be there. Be there, guys, because this is epic. And Jason Aaron's already writing a Batman book too. So
Right. And it's got to be super hard to have an imprint on a title, one of the longest comic book titles ever, Action Comics. You know, same thing with
mhm.
Detective. And you have a lot of these younger art writers, sorry, trying to do their best to make their definitive run or their definitive, line of books under it. And if anybody can, I think Jason Aaron can.
Yes, he most certainly can.
It's hard to, yeah, it's hard to change the status quo. It's hard to shake it up, but maybe you don't need the status quo shaking it up. Maybe you need the status quo stirred instead of shaken. And you know who
Yeah.
else likes things shaken and not stirred? It's
Me.
well, you, but also 007, James Bond, who's getting his own comic, a brand new series. Brand new series. I mean, there've been James Bond comics in the past. We're getting a brand new series in January 17th, written by Garth Ennis of all people. Like you, these are things that again you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you want until someone else has told you. But this link seems like a match made in heaven. Rafa Labosco will be the artist on this, and the breakdown we have is a relic of the Cold War. The deadly compound Stalvoda has a long buried connection with MI6. So when it mysteriously reappears in disturbing circumstances, the agency naturally assigns its best operative to get to the bottom of things. 007 himself, James Bond. But Bond isn't the only one who has carried the 00 rank with its MI6 secrets. Former agent Archibald Tyron is another, and he's also carrying a grudge, one that's aimed squarely at the heart of his majestic Secret Service. Sorry, His Majesty's Secret Service. Legendary comics author Garth Ennis, who's written for The Boys, Preacher, Battlefield, The Punisher, joins artist Rafa Labosco, who's done work with James Bond series in the past, and cover artist Dave Johnson, who's worked on 100 Bullets, Superman, Red Sun, Deadpool, bring you part one of Your Cold, Cold Heart, marking the 10th anniversary of James Bond comics being published at Dynamite. And in the preview, it looks like they have like a crime family that's going to be coming after James Bond, was again very Garth Ennis. Like that's right in his wheelhouse. So like man, it just looks cool. All the art is gorgeous as hell. Just from the previews I'm seeing, I'm super excited about this. But it turns out I'm not the only one. We spoke a little bit off air, and this was on your list as well. Talk to me about your excitement level when it comes to this book.
I mean, one, let me talk about the excitement level that the fact that we both picked a book. You know, we both picked our had our picks in secret. We came together, and then when you showed me that, I was like, "What? Like, how dope is that? That we both saw this and had basically the same thoughts." Garth Ennis, James Bond, what? What? An Irishman writing like the original British superhero, secret spy?
Yeah,
Crazy. It just popped when I seen it. When I first saw it in the previews, I was like, "Oh, James Bond. Yeah, Dynamite's been doing James Bond. Cool, cool." What are these two names I see? Garth Ennis, the guy who wrote
yeah,
The Boys, the guy who wrote about superheroes being absolute jackasses, the guy who wrote about a preacher who gets the powers of of the word of God, and now he's tackling
Neither really safe for
James.
children, right? So it's
Neither
like we
Savage
know we're
Children,
getting another level.
who wrote one of the greatest Punisher arcs of all time, is
Yeah,
now has the gentleman of James Bond, but we're gonna definitely get some of that Garth Ennis twist
yeah.
in there. So I'm very excited for this book. I was it's disappointed, but at the same time happy that you chose it and I took it off my list. I said fine, but I'm happy it's still on yours. This book, I believe, is going to be one of those sleeper hits that it's going to come out, and next you know, by issue number 3, people are going to catch on, and suddenly it's going to be, hey, how do I get a copy of issue number one? How do I get a copy of issue number two? So if you're listening now, get it on your pull list, because it's I guarantee you not many people are asking about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's going to be amazing. Garth Ennis, I mean, James Bond, you bastard. You know what? What's he
Right,
gonna
right, right,
say?
right, right. And again, some of the
How's
most
that gonna work?
bonkers. Think about some of the bonkers characters in Preacher, or some of the goriest gunfights in his Punisher run, and even characters in that too. Where I'm like, whoa, that was a bit
Right,
that was a bit
right.
strange and weird. It's going to put a little bit of grunge in the James Bond of it all, and I want to see how literally one of the biggest IPs ever handles a little bit of American, not American, but like I've sort of like American comic sensibility. You know, that paint job there. So yeah, super
Yeah,
stoked about that.
because before this, I've heard generic things about the James Bond books. You know, they're
Yeah,
good if you're a James Bond fan. I think having Garth Ennis on a book like this is going to like I said, eventually pull in all fans of comic books, because it's Garth Ennis. Much like Jason Aaron or Brian Michael Bendis or Jonathan Hickman, you see Garth Ennis, and even if you're not a fan of what he's writing, you go, I'm going to check this out. Because I mean, look, we mentioned Robert Kirkman. Garth Ennis himself, The Boys and all its spinoffs are making that man some money. And
yeah,
he's told some of the most rated R stories ever, and people are watching. So who knows? Maybe this will be the blueprint for the next James Bond movie arc. You know,
right.
they might, you know, that'd be amazing if this is the James Bond we're gonna get in the next couple movies.
And you got
I
to
can
know
see
they're
it.
going to be making James Bond movies in perpetuity. We're going to have James Bond movies forever in the future, and they're going to need stories to pull from. And good thing is we now have this setup. We now have major previews where we can go and look at these stories that will have huge impacts. It kind of feels like betting on horses. Like it kind of feels like I'm trying to use the knowledge I have to pick some of these books. And the interesting thing about it is next time that you see us, we'll have some background on some of these books, whether or not we've read them, reviews that have gone on after the fact. But yeah, I totally love this new convention that we have here where we're able to get excited about the future, because in my opinion, that's what true happiness is having something to look forward to. And with major previews and comic books in general, it looks like we're never going to run out of that kind of stuff. So
Most certainly
su-
not.
super excited about that.
We
um
only got one. We only have one MCU movie to look forward to this year, guys. So
It's
read
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
time to
comics.
read. That's
Read a
a
lot of
ton of
comics.
a ton of a time to read. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for being on the or watching the inaugural episode of Major Previews. This is still pretty new. We're gonna get some more bells and whistles and start to fine tune this process. But I really love this first episode. One thing we've always managed to bring is a level of enthusiasm and energy to these conversations that is needed, because this stuff is amazing when done right. When comics is done right, undefeated. So I just want you guys to make sure that you know that you can follow us wherever we are on all social media. Just look up Comic Book Click. We have a podcast called the Major Issues Podcast. Google that. We'll be the first ones to pop right up. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse, where as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month, you can help us continue to afford to be able to do things like this, and provide free content. All those links are going to be in the show notes, in the description for this video. But yeah, thank you guys all for being a part of Major Previews. Happiness is having something to look forward to. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
And I'm Alex Garcia, aka B Roke, but still looking forward to all the new comics.
And this has been Major Previews Episode 1. And always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.